Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today for a big surprise with us. We advertised Alex Karl, our ESA Capcom here, and we've got Sian Proctor, astronaut on the St. Jude's Dragon mission, for better words on there. How are you? Welcome.
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for having
Welcome,
me.
Alex. Welcome.
Mark, good to be back.
Well, great to be back here. Both of you are here because
Axiom's launching to space on Wednesday, the
That's-
Axiom 3 mission.
And Sian, Dr. Proctor came in here with a group of people from our new partners, the National Space Society. And Mike Mongo's here, standing here. We're going to get Mike involved. Of course, you know him from Yuri's Night if you've ever been there, which I have many times. And our Shuttle Fest will be April 13th before the Yuri's Night. So we'll tell you all about that. But we had to grab Sian in here just to say hi. Pardon me?
Turn the mic a little bit.
Okay, we'll turn the mic a little bit because I use my outdoor voice. We got Marty Winkles behind the board again here. Marty, we're glad that you're healthy and back here. Marty and I have done this since March 23rd, 2020, born out of the pandemic. We are up to episode 970
Wow.
today in our little humble podcast here. And and I've learned that when someone comes into our museum to grab them, so Dr. Sian Proctor was so happy that you found our museum. You've been here just about a half an hour. Give everybody out there your impression of the American Space Museum.
It's actually really fantastic. It's like a hidden gem here in Titusville. I didn't know it was here, and I've been to Titusville many times, and so I feel so fortunate to find it. And so when you come to watch a launch, you got to definitely come check it out. And what I love is you've got a whole area dedicated to women in space.
Yes, we do. We're quite proud of that. Our
Mhm.
executive director, Karan Conklin, and Nick Enix, our collection manager, put that together over 4 years ago as a temporary exhibit. We had astronaut Mike McCulley do it. 75 women are on the walls there. Everyone that's been to space. All 3 NASA female directors are up there and more. And we're glad that you really enjoyed that. And what a thrill to have you here. Everybody that watches the show regularly, like Dave Stange up there in Michigan. We've got people in Australia watching, Cliff Watson in Pomona, Australia. I'll bet you're surprised to see Dr. Proctor on here. We're going to talk to Eric here,
Alex.
who's had is dealing with one of the astronauts, the ESA astronauts going up. Who's that that's going to be launched that you're here to watch and support?
We're here to support Marcus Wandt from Sweden.
I knew it'd be Wandt, Wendt, of course, in there from Sweden. The second Swedish astronaut to go up
Yes.
in space history.
Yes. The first one was Christer Fuglesang. I think he flew in the early 2000s. I think he had 2 missions, also installing the Columbus module on the ISS. And for a while, he actually held the record of the European with the most spacewalks.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he did like 4, I think, and was only like
Fogelson. Yeah.
Fuglesang.
So I'm sure
Fuglesang.
Okay. All right. I'll let these Europeans use their dialect, and
And I
I'll use my
apologize to all Swedish
Dixie
listeners here.
dialect
I might have-
in there. We've got behind you here a toasted marshmallow on top of a SpaceX spaceship there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that is the one of the 2 SpaceX recovery vessels when the either Crew Dragon or Cargo Dragon comes back from space. They parachute down and land in the ocean, usually the Atlantic, either the Atlantic or the Gulf of Mexico. And that boat is then fishing the capsule out, and if getting the experiments out that need to be like temperature controlled, for example, or if there's crew on board, they get the folks out. I mean, Sian probably has been
I know it well.
entered the
Yes.
boat from the other side. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be on the boat like that for these Crew 4 landing.
I've got a picture of you there we're going to show
And,
on that. there.
so-
But
so
both
it's,
of you have been
we entered
involved
the-
with that.
yeah.
You inside that capsule. I mean, refresh everybody, Dr. Proctor, when was your mission and how all that evolved?
Yeah, I was part of the Inspiration 4 mission, which was the first all-civilian mission to orbit. We launched in September 15th, 2021, and we spent 3 days in space. And I was the mission pilot. I'm the first ever woman commercial astronaut mission pilot, and so far the only African-American woman to be a mission pilot. And so it was a fantastic experience when the Dragon came home. It was the first time that they had heard a sonic boom over the coast of Florida during our mission since the shuttle times.
Yes.
Because up until then, SpaceX had flown Bob and Doug in crew demo, and then they had Crew 1, Crew 2, and then we were the fourth ever SpaceX human launch. And all 3 other ones splashed down in the Gulf, and we splashed down in the Atlantic.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about that. You can stay a little bit, can't you?
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't
good,
think the
okay.
people who I got
Good,
the keys, so
You got okay, good. Because I'm going to go through my pictures that I've done here. You've got a beautiful piece of artwork on your clothing there. There's a story behind that and the launch Wednesday.
Yes, that's correct. So I actually won my seat to space as an artist and a poet. I wrote a poem called Space to Inspire, and that's how I got my seat on Inspiration 4. And so I painted in space, and I'm an artist, and I actually have a new art piece flying to space, a physical piece that's flying to space with Axiom 3 on Wednesday.
Painting in space. Now, our good friend Nikki Stott did the first watercolors in space.
That's
there.
correct.
What medium did you do?
I also did watercolors, so she trailblazed the way for me. Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah. I would have loved. Did you make a movie of how that water?
I did.
Because she said she didn't make a movie of it, and I know what's going on there with water in space. It's like a ball, and you put something in it. That had to be fascinating.
Well, she did that, I think 10 years before I did. And so the techniques have changed somewhat. I have a YouTube video. If you go to Dr. Sian Proctor on YouTube, you can see my painting in space. And now you can bring up pre-filled paintbrushes with water in them. And so you squeeze the paintbrush, and then the water will come up onto the bristles, and because of surface tension, it stays. And then you use surface tension to go and swirl into your watercolor, and again, it sticks to your brush because of surface tension, and then you can apply it to your canvas. So it was a lot easier than I thought it would ever be. The hard, challenging part is that you got to manage your own energy because you're moving as you're trying to paint. But SpaceX helped me create this beautiful art set with lots of Velcro, so I could stick things in places, and you'll see that all in the video.
Well, check that out. Please promote yourself. Do you have a website?
Yes, I do. And my website is Space to Inspire. That's space with the number 2 and then inspire, all one word, .art. And I have a whole collection of art and my journey on that website.
Well, we'll be promoting you on that on our future Stay Curious programs here. And I hope that we can, brace you a little bit with things we do here at the museum and so forth. Let's go through this little program that we put together here. Just thinking we've got Alex and only Alex here. There's our Stay Curious logo. The American Space Museum for over 20 years has been preserving the birth of America's space age here in what we call its delivery room, Brevard County. And we're real proud of that. And you saw some of the artifacts. But what our program does is particularly promote the shuttle era. We're just eat up with the 30-year decade of shuttle, that 3-decade era of the shuttle that changed the way we look at life today. There's no doubt about it, with the beautiful International Space Station overhead. And we're glad we got Marty back. Marty, my co-producer and partner in crime all this time. Good to see you back, my friend. He had a little bout of this respiratory thing going around. And let's look at a big picture of Marty there out there at the Rocket Center there. That's when the Germans were following you around doing that documentary, the PBS, German broadcasting system. It's not PBS, but their equivalent. What would be the call letters of that?
Was it orange?
Yes.
ZDF.
ZDF. Yep, ZDF. And they were here for the Artemis launch in August, and that was a really fun circus, except for the launch didn't happen until November in there. So, Marty, great to have you back, my friend. I was out today talking to Tom Jones there. Tom Jones has got this great book, Space Shuttle Stories. I said, I'm going to take a picture with you, Tom, and we're going to promote your book out there. A great book. Each page is someone's comments of that mission on there. So Tom will be out there all week if you're in town. And then there's a luncheon that many of us are going to with the National Space Society and the Astronaut Memorial Foundation Friday. So Tom's become a good friend of the museum. And Marty, we'll never forget that nice dinner we had with him, will we? Have you ever gone to dinner with an astronaut and they want to know more about you than talk about them? And that's how Tom is. He went around the table and asked everybody, what'd you do for a living? Where'd you grow up? And so forth. Just a real engaging guy. Tom Jones from Baltimore, Maryland. So he's happy that the Ravens are advancing the football thing there. There we are. We wanted to get, I'm a little bit nervous, I'll admit here. I don't often get surprised with somebody as wonderful as Dr. Sian Proctor and all that you've done. And you know, I got to speak of the bravery of what you did there. We'll talk about that in a minute. Moon Hut. We had a good meal there, didn't we, my
Very
friend?
good meal. Yes.
An old establishment that now has been revived. There's Michelle on the left and Wendy on the right. Served us our meal. Of course, was chatterboxing about how we might have events there. If you're a local, you'll enjoy it. And it is resurrected an old 60s hangout. Marty, that you said you were at the old Moon Hut, right?
Yeah, quite a few years ago.
Well, I looked at the old menu. The hamburger there was about, $14 hamburger with everything. It was 59 cents in 1963 for the same moon burger, I think there. But so there's where we met.
Yeah.
You came into our museum about 4 years ago, really, I think. What was your first trip here? What mission?
Well, the first trip was actually to get familiar for this trip where we met. And I was lucky enough to be in town for Sian's launch.
Oh, yay.
So I saw it from here. It was beautiful.
That's
it
a
was
lot of people said
amazing.
that it was
Yes.
a beautiful launch. We launched just after sunset, and so and without any delays.
Now, Sian and Alex looked at each other and says, last time I saw you was
Paris.
in Paris.
Yes. Mhm.
And here you meet in Titusville, Florida, of all places. You can't make that stuff up, can
It's
you?
a nice surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was that occasion?
We were in there for IAC. Yep, the International Astronomical Congress.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right. Yep, I'll call you out on those acronyms. Also.
I gotta take that's
All right.
Astronautical Congress.
Astronautical Congress.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the artist. That's not the artist league.
No, this is it's a
that's
big
the IAAA.
yeah, yes,
yeah,
that's
right,
correct. It's a big international conference that happens every year somewhere around the world.
Yeah. Well, Alex, we will talk about you here in just a second. You're a commercial contract. You're a contracted employee for ESA, the European Space Agency.
Yes.
One of many Eurocoms. We call them Capcoms, but you're a Eurocom. You talk to the ESA astronauts on the International Space Station and the human link to them around the world. Like we had lunch yesterday. You just come back from kind of an important goodbye for your astronaut, Marcus.
Yes. So ESA is used to send people with NASA usually on the UCV flights to the International Space Station. As you may know, and I know we touch upon this later on also. Currently, we have the command of the space station is European astronaut Andreas Mogensen from Denmark. And so we are used to working with NASA on this. So now it's the first time that ESA is flying an astronaut on Axiom.
Yeah.
So of course, there are many things that are new, but there are also many things we want to stay the same so that all astronauts know, okay, this is what I can expect, and this is what my friends and family can expect that I can invite to the launch. And one of those events is back in the shuttle era, I think it was called the Wave Across the Ditch.
Right, yes.
Now it's called the Wave Across. There's no more ditch.
Right. There was a ditch between where the shuttle was and
Yeah.
they go outside and all that.
And we still do that for the USCV launches. And this is then all 4 crew members together, and then they have their friends and family, and they it's a great event. It's like the second highlight just next to the launch. And so we wanted that for our astronaut as well.
You had quite a turnout. You have a lot of Europeans coming over here to support this launch.
Yeah, definitely. We have about 100 people from Marcus' friends and family. And so we arranged a wave off yesterday for Marcus and his friends and family. And that went very well. Everybody was very happy. Happy to see the astronaut in quarantine, ready to go to space.
We're going to see some pictures of them here in a second. There's the Axiom 3 logo up there. Those of you that don't know what Axiom is all about, I'm going to show you here in just a second, because if you follow Stay Curious, you do know. Others of you, it might flip you out a little bit. Here's the crew. Let me get my cheat sheet on the names of the crew here, unless you know them by heart, my friend. I'd love. We've got
3 out of 4. Well,
Yeah.
I have some trouble with the Alper's last name, the correct pronunciation.
Well, you've got which one is the turkey guy? The shorter one or the tall guy on the left?
The tall one on the left is Walter Villadé from Italy.
Gotcha.
He's the mission pilot.
Right.
That's Sian's position.
Yes,
Alper
that's correct.
Javeravacci.
Yeah, so Alper Geravasi. I hope that was close enough.
First astronaut from Turkey.
Yes, and then we have Marcus Wandt, and then Michael Lopez Alegria, the commander of Axiom 3.
Now, Michael Lopez Allegra, nicknamed LA, of course, a NASA astronaut, flew 4 times with NASA. And this is his second command of an Axiom spacecraft. He did Axiom 1, obviously, and Axiom 3. I've never met him. We've had some people that know him pretty well. Great guy. And he and Peggy Whitson, the most experienced woman space flyer, are the leaders of the astronauts there at Axiom. And why do they need Axiom astronauts? Because they're going to build this in the next 4 years. They're going to build a spaceship attached to the International Space Station. A space station attached to it. First segment is scheduled to go up in April. Don't know if that's on track. Do you guys know if that's on track yet?
I don't.
But they're going to put these 4 modules together, and it'll be configured like this. And that actually spherical, everything attached to the sphere is part of Axiom. To the right, you see the flat bed in the arm, that's Kibo. That's Japan's space station, which you know very well. Were you allowed to go into some of the other areas?
We actually didn't go to the ISS. We
Yeah,
are the
that's right,
only,
that's right, you did.
we're the
Yeah,
only
okay.
mission that have flown from U.S. soil that in the last 20 years since the shuttle era built the station that didn't go
Since
to
Columbia, maybe.
Yeah, we did a free flyer mission. So
Right.
we orbited the Earth for 3 days, and we had a beautiful cupola window, the largest continuous window ever flown in space, and that we could look down on the Earth with.
Yeah, we've got a beautiful picture of you and Arsenault. Is that
Yeah,
the
Haley
lady?
Arsenault.
In our women's gallery there. We'll talk to you a little more about your flight there. This is what Axiom wants to do: build a space station that we're going to attach to the ISS. They'll put a power plant solar panel on it, detach it, and then we can all go up there and spend our honeymoons and vacations and stuff like that up there. Not that I've had a couple honeymoons. I don't need any more honeymoons. But I don't know why that slipped out like that. There is a Crew Dragon attached to the ISS on there,
And so you see where the nose cone is,
Yeah.
and that's where it opens, and that's where the docking is. But for our mission, because we weren't docking to the ISS, SpaceX replaced the docking system with our cupola. So when the nose cone came open on activation, when we got on orbit, we have the forward hatch, the same forward hatch that allows you to go and enter into the ISS. But then for us, when you opened it, you got to float up into the cupola and look back on Earth.
I mean, explain that to us.
It was
night and day.
wonderful.
I mean, how could you not? How could you pull yourself away from it?
It was
probably?
hard. Yeah, you're orbiting at 17,500 miles per hour, and we were higher than the ISS. We were at 585 kilometers.
Okay.
So we were
300 and some miles.
Yeah, 300 and so 300 and what, 60 miles maybe above height, and so we're above the ISS, and from that perspective, when you floated up into the cupola, you could see a large section of Earth because of that, and it was fantastic.
You in the night.
Oh,
I mean, I'm an amateur astronomer,
yes.
so I got to ask you what the night sky looks like.
The night sky was. I have a fantastic photo of Orion at night, and it's one of those things because you have a different perspective angle on it. You're like looking, and you're like, I think that's Orion. Is that Orion? I think that's Orion. And then you're like, yeah, it is. And so the night sky was beautiful. But I loved looking at Earth and seeing things like lightning from space. And I got to see the aurora borealis or the northern lights from space, and just wonderful things like that.
I'm letting her monopolize just a little bit here.
I mean, this is
Sorry.
a way better story than I can tell. If you
I'm
please tell
crashing
me more. I want to hear this too much. So.
Well, tell everybody what your background is. You're not a fighter pilot. You're not I don't even know if you fly, but
I do. It's kind of an interesting story. I've been chasing space my entire life. I was born on the island of Guam because my dad was working at the NASA tracking station during the Apollo missions.
The Ascension
And-
Islands,
yeah,
all the way down there, very important.
And so, but they left soon after I was born. But I grew up with NASA memorabilia to my dad. So he got Neil Armstrong's autograph that thanked him for the help that he did while working for NASA there at the tracking station. But I wanted to be a fighter pilot and an astronaut when I was a kid. It was the 80s, Top Gun was the rage, but I was in the Civil Air Patrol and I got glasses. And back in the 80s, you weren't going to be doing any military aviation if you didn't have 20/20 vision. So I switched careers and I became a geoscientist. I got my master's and my PhD at Arizona State University. So I'm a geologist / geoscientist, and I've been a community college professor with the Maricopa Community College District for the last 25 years,
Wow.
teaching geology and sustainability classes, planetary science classes, life in the universe. So just a variety of classes. But I always was still chasing space. So in 2009, I was a finalist for the NASA astronaut selection. And so I got down to the yes/no phone call, and it was a heartbreaking no. And then I repivoted and became an analog astronaut living in Moon and Mars simulations for months at a time. And then finally in 2021, the call for Inspiration 4, where you could win a ticket to space. Like, right? We were in this new era coming out of COVID. And during COVID, I became an artist and a poet. And I thought, I tried the traditional way with NASA as a geoscientist. Maybe I should go as a artist and a poet, because as you know, 1969, Bill Anders took that famous photo of Earthrise, and when the people asked him about it, he said, "You should have sent a poet." I can't express how beautiful it is. And so I wrote a poem, and that got me my seat to space.
We want to hear that poem someday. We're talking to Dr. Sian Proctor, who's been to space for 3 days with the Inspiration 4 crew. Where's the dates of that?
September 15th, 2021 to September 18th was when we splashed down. And we have a Netflix series called Countdown Inspiration 4, and it's beautifully done because it was also a fundraiser for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. It was $200 million fundraiser, and to date we raised $240 million to help end childhood cancer. And my crew member, Haley Arsenault, is a childhood cancer survivor and the first person to fly to space with a prosthesis.
Yes, amazing. And Jared Isaacman
That's
is the
correct.
billionaire who funded this.
Yeah.
And he has his own, I guess you could call it a space company called Polaris.
Yes.
That he wants to, we thought he was going to do the first spacewalk by a private citizen in July. I haven't been able to keep up with what's up with Mr. Isaacman, but I do know he's very much aligned with Elon Musk. I've heard him talk at SpaceCom last year. That's just at the end of this month. And he said that he is on board with Musk. Just keep building these starships until they work.
Yeah,
And, but what can you say about Mr. Isaacman?
Jared is the most amazing person, not just because he sent me to space, but think about this. It was the before Bob and Doug went to space, he went to SpaceX and said, I'd like to do this sometime. And now all of Jared's friends are fighter pilots, like they are Thunderbird pilots. And he could have, he's risking his life with your crew is everything, right? Who you go to space with. You're relying on them for your life and your safety, that they are going to know what to do in case of emergencies and things like that. But what Jared did was, instead he said, I'm going to fly to space and I'm going to give the other 3 seats away to strangers. And he's paying for it.
Yeah.
So to make that decision to not fly with these people that you fly fighter jets with and that you trust, and you know how they can react under pressure.
Right.
He
yes.
made the conscious decision to go to space for the first time ever in his life. And he has small children and everything. And he gave the seats away to strangers. And we all came together in March of 2021. I won the prosperity seat as an artist and poet. Chris Simbrowski, who's an engineer, he won the generosity seat. And then Haley Arsenault was gifted by St. Jude the hope seat. And then Jared had the leadership seat. And we came together. We trained for just under 6 months. And then we flew to space together for 3 days. And a lot of people thought, what are these people doing? It's this, no NASA astronauts, but we got the same exact training that SpaceX gives to NASA astronauts. And we were able to go and have a successful mission and open the door to commercial space. And now Axiom, they're on their 3rd launch, and just really kind of like setting the tone that if we're going to go out there and we're going to explore and we're going to do these amazing things as humans should, we should also be good stewards of our planet and do good here.
You're one of the kind of people, Sian, that's making it kind of sound easy.
It's not, but I
could tell a life-changing event.
It was, because I'm a geologist. I'm not an engineer. And then I have my pilot's license because my childhood dream was to fly. I got my pilot's license when I was at 35. I was like, I got my PhD and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something else for myself.
A couple years ago. Huh?
Yeah, I wish. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then but Jared, as soon as I won the contest, he said, congratulations, you won the prosperity seat. And I want you to be my mission pilot.
Man.
And in my head, I was like, does he know that I've only flown a Cessna 172? And I wasn't even current.
Yeah.
But he had the confidence that I would be able to do this. And, the Dragon capsule is autonomous. And so, but you have these flight computers that run through the sequences. And so as a mission pilot, you really, to me, you become a systems engineer. So I had to learn everything about the Falcon 9 rocket and the Dragon capsule, all the contingencies, all the emergencies. And yes, we could take controls. We could do a emergency deorbit. We could do fire pyros and stuff if the drogues and the mains don't fly. So there are really technical things that I had to learn, and I'm not an engineer. So I became a systems engineer in less than 6 months.
Wow.
But I told my students that you can do anything as long as you are passionate and dedicated, that you can learn anything at any age.
Well, you are certainly a great example of that for sure, Sian. Would you go back again?
I would love to go back. So if there's a billionaire out there that's listening and you need
we have plenty
a
of
mission,
those in our nonprofit here.
right? Starship. Hey, Starship's a game changer. Like, let's all just come together, get a Starship, go around the moon,
Well,
but I think that's going to be a reality in our lifetime, which will be nice.
We'll see. Well, we'll get back to you here in a little bit. Here, let's talk to Alex here, and you can chime in anytime you want. We're blessed that Dr. Sian Proctor come in here with the National Space Society people here. We got Mike Mongo here. Mike's well known in the space community. We'll get you on a Shepherd show here one day, my friend. And but let's talk about what's going to happen in just a day and a half here. It's getting down to the hourglass running out here to crank up 9 Merlin engines on 4 humans going to space. Let's look a little bit about the men and the stuff behind that. Here is your friends at the Eurocom, something we've shown before there. You're not in that picture.
And I'm trying to recognize all the people. I definitely see a couple of my current colleagues and some former colleagues.
This kind of an office shot of where you work.
No, this is actually our console room. So you
Okay.
see in the foreground the sign that says Eurocom.
Uh-huh.
That's the back of our monitors that we look at. So on the left you see a colleague with an ESA shirt. That's Angie, and on the right it's Serena. And then there are a couple of people in the back, and the gentleman in the middle actually. That's Hervé. He is training all the ESA astronauts on the spacewalks. So he's our spacewalk person.
Okay. There's a distinction between a Eurocom that talks to just the good morning stuff and what and the spacewalk.
No, well, spacewalks usually are orchestrated and executed by NASA, even though there may be an ESA astronaut on the spacewalk,
Okay.
but that's usually under NASA guidance as they develop the whole plan of the spacewalk itself.
Can I ask you a question about that? When you're on Eurocom, and then NASA has Capcom, how do you arrange who's talking when then? And is it specifically that you're talking only when one of the European astronauts needs something, or that you have to communicate specifically to them, or do you communicate to the entire crew that's up there?
So what happens is usually, so we talk to all astronauts that
Okay.
use ESA hardware and experiments.
Okay.
So that's one thing, which doesn't happen during the spacewalk. So NASA usually, next for spacewalks, they have a Capcom that takes care of let's say the everyday things. But then for the spacewalks, they get an extra Capcom in that has been trained on the EVA as well. And in the past, very often, that was Andy Mogensen, our Danish colleague.
Right. Who's up there now as the commander. of the
Yeah,
ISS.
so he's very experienced in guiding folks as a Capcom through EVAs.
Mhm.
And usually, even though ESA astronauts may be involved in the spacewalk, there's not much for us to contribute to. There was one little instance where we got involved in the spacewalk. That was when Matthias Maurer, doing Crew 3, was doing his spacewalk, and he was installing an external platform to the European Columbus module. And there we had to coordinate internally to switch some power lines off before he attached some matings. Again, no communication to the astronaut, but it was part of the orchestrated walkthrough of the spacewalk. Then at some point, here you need to switch off the power, and then we confirmed that, and there was communication behind the scenes that the astronaut didn't hear.
Very good. We're going to look at the past couple missions that you were Capcom'd on and met you on those things. There's Matthias Maurer. He spent 5 months up there. Was that the third? What was it?
So he was Crew 3, I believe. That was increment 66.
And there,
Mostly. And it was his first space flight. And I was lucky enough to be here. That's when I met you, actually. Because I was from the crew support function. I was here as the backup. We have a prime and backup for the crew support that's taking care of the families and friends and so on. And that's when I ran into you, and I was like, let me check out this great
and we
museum.
talked to you on Google Meets and so forth like that. We're going to do more of that with you when you get back to Europe. We enjoy that I find it fascinating that each European mission has a theme to them. And Maurer's was the Cosmic Kiss. And tell us where this kind of develops this theme, and the Cosmic Kiss has got quite a special meaning.
Yeah, so maybe first a little context, like all the shuttle patches, for example. For the European missions, the European crew member who flies, they also can choose a mission name, a mission patch, and then there may be some experiments that are involved with them from the national space agencies or from other European countries. And so this has been going on for a while. So once Matthias' turn came, he chose Cosmic Kiss. And if you want to show that logo again, then I can just give you a little idea what we're looking at. So this is actually based on a Neolithic find that was found, I don't know, not sure exactly when, but it was found in Germany. And they figured out it's, I don't know, 4,000, 8,000 years old. And it's the first depiction that we have of a night sky on any object that was made. So he basically wants to connect the past and the future being now, is going to space. And what you see is the round circle is the Earth, and then you see the crescent of the moon. And this is connected through, well, an EKG, like heartbeat, and the red lines in the middle symbolize the ISS.
Very cool.
Yeah,
And
it is cool.
that expresses his love for space, really. So he called it Cosmic Kiss.
And the kiss, of course, contains ISS in it there. Nice little play on words there. And then you had the beautiful Samantha Cristoforetti, she's the longest ESA female astronaut duration, correct?
Yes. She had, I think it was 199 days and a couple of hours, her first mission.
But you saw her come back.
I saw her launch as well. So
Right.
while for Matthias I was backup for crew support, for Samantha I was the prime. And then as prime, you get the privilege of being on the landing ship. So I saw her launch and come back.
Yeah, we're going to show pictures of that and
which
talk to you
was,
about
a great
Sian,
experience.
do you see the symbolism in that?
Yeah, the wave of the similar to what Nicole Stott painted, I think.
But it also,
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be an owl.
Oh, it's an owl.
yeah, it's an owl too.
Because it symbolizes wisdom.
Ah.
So, but you have the different
I
shades.
see what you're talking about.
Yeah,
the
because
way,
I was thinking
with
of
the moon eye
Yes.
being the owl too
Yeah.
in there. Minerva, mythological connotations to that. Is
Yes. Don't quote me on that, but
there?
it's,
Okay,
I think
no, we will.
the Roman goddess of wisdom, but I may be off here by a little bit. So,
Tell us a little bit about this fabulous lady.
well, she's currently our only female astronaut. We have.
So she may go back to space again.
She may go back.
I think she's got over.
We
like
do have
200
some
days.
females in training currently. So as you may remember, ESA about a year ago they announced 5 new astronauts and 11 or 12 reserves, and out of those, about half are women.
Okay.
So we will have a lot more female astronauts in the future. But for now, she's the only one certified to fly at the moment.
Well, 2 men, 2 women flew in your flight there. And
That
of
is
course,
correct.
here it's Martin Luther King Day, and
Yes.
we want to NASA. There's no color, there's no men, there's no women in NASA. It's been that way, really, since we segued out of the rocket jockey, so to speak, that we needed the test pilots to test these things. But here on Martin Luther King Day, the diversity. How do you all think it's going? Being European and
Well, I definitely have an opinion there. NASA's history obviously is coming out of test pilots, which eliminated women from being able to participate. If you think about the Mercury 13,
right.
and then you think about the history of women in space, with Russia flying Valentina, and then it was 20 years later that Sally Ride flew. And then I was in my 20s when Dr. Mae Jemison, the first African American woman to fly to space, went. And I think that we still have some challenges. But what's interesting is that commercial space has only been around really for 3 years,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And in those 3 years, they flew the oldest person, William Shatner. They flew Wally Funk, who was a Mercury 13, the oldest woman to go to space. They've flown the youngest person to go to space at 18.
That young
The
man,
young man. They've flown father and son to space. They've flown mothers and daughters to space. They've flown, and then the diversity. Me as the first African American woman to be a mission pilot. The first female Egyptian woman on Blue
Sarah
Origin,
Sabre.
Sarah Sabre.
We've had
Yep.
her on our
And,
program.
and Sarah's great. I was at her launch.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and
She was very affected by her
Exactly.
little 15 minutes of flight.
yeah, and but also the first Mexican-born woman in and so the list goes on and on. So in 3 years, and that's what I think what commercial space is about, and this is why NASA champions it, is that it's an opportunity to really create what I call Jedi space, just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space for all of humanity.
Jedi space,
Just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space. Star Wars name, but a Star Trek meaning. Okay, so
right.
for
I like
both
that.
are, if you're a Star Wars person or a Trekkie, I got you
Yeah.
covered on both ends there, right?
There you go. There you go. Yeah, it is quite. When you think 3 years of commercial space program, and the Artemis keeps saying the first person of color and the first woman on the moon, but I don't care if it's 2 women that go to the moon. Okay, if they're qualified, that'd be fine with me.
Yeah, well, this is another interesting fact. I mean, you look at the space shuttle, there hadn't been an African American assigned to the space shuttle, particularly woman, in 20 years. And it was the first person to actually go was Jessica Watkins. And that just happened 2 years ago. So you had decades of all of these experiments and videos and conferences from the International Space Station, and there were no women, Black women represented in 20 years, and
I
then
didn't know that was the gap on that.
Yes.
That does make
Yes.
sense. We had a big gap with the Black American, African American too, the male.
yes,
Um,
until Victor flew.
you're right. Yeah,
yes,
Victor Glover,
exactly. And so,
Yeah. It was. I could see his face. Who was the last one before him? But imagine this: in a quarter way through the 21st century, we do not have a American white male in space at this moment. Of the 7 people on the space station, there's no American white male up there.
yeah, first time.
Who'd have thunk that?
Yeah.
Years ago in there, and it doesn't matter, is what.
Well,
the
that's
point
the whole
is
point, is to get
yeah.
to that Jedi space where
Yeah.
it is that you've got people that everybody is working together to uplift everyone and give access and open up access. And I loved what ESA did with the last selection, and looking for the first astronaut who has a I don't even know what term you would use.
Handicap,
yes.
Disability.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's I need to think if that's the word they're using.
Yes, the word that they're using. But thinking about the fact that we have now, I mean, if you go back to the first Apollo missions, we have 50 years of history. And now we really got a lot of data, and we can start thinking about, okay, well, how do we broaden access? Who can we fly?
Right.
And do you have to be the best of the best to be able to go up there and have an experience, or to be able to pilot a spaceship? I was the first. I don't know if there's been any other ones as a mission pilot. I'm not a military aviator.
Right.
And I was able to be the mission pilot for Inspiration
That's
4.
amazing. That's quite. We're talking with Dr. Sian Proctor. She walked in the building. We didn't get her name on there.
And I'm very passionate.
So, Marty, I'm sure our regulars are enjoying this in there. Any comments from anybody on our?
No comments. There are a lot of regulars
Okay,
on
great.
the list.
Great. Yeah. We'll say hi to some of our friends out there. Continue here with Alex Karl, who's the guy on the hot mic sometimes to the ESA astronauts up there. Let's go to my next slide here that you can both speak of.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
If given the opportunity, would you go to space?
I probably would not,
And why not?
because I have inner ear problems.
So do you feel like
I mean, I would love to, but I think I'd probably be sick.
better living through chemistry?
Okay, really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't feel my best when I was up there, but in a half hour, I got some medicine and then I was fine.
Oh,
Me
really?
too. Yeah, because there's a 50-50 shot that you will go to space and have space adaptation
Right,
sickness.
yes.
I mean, everybody has space adaptation sickness in some form, whether it's the stuffy nose, the headache, but some people feel queasy. And but now we have medicine to help you if you're not feeling your best.
Well,
and then
That's
Yeah.
but that would be one thing because I feel like I've had vertigo and stuff like that, and but I gotta. It's dangerous, you know. And how did you get over the fear?
I didn't have any fear. I was so ready to go.
Really?
Yes. It
I
was
mean, I guess
something-
if I go because I'm 70 years old, I'd say, well, if I died on this, that'd be great.
Well,
but
I
gotta
kind
die
of said the
somewhere,
same
but-
thing. Like, there were so many worse ways to die. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm dying going to space, doing something that I love, so I just concentrated on my job and enjoyed the ride and, helped advance human space flight and got to paint in space. And it's interesting because reentry is far more dynamic for me than going up, because when you launch, you have the launch escape system. So there's a chance that you're going to survive if something goes wrong, maybe, right? But coming back, your heat shield is either going to hold up or it's not.
Right.
And, and I remember because I've talked to my crew member Haley about this, and Haley was thinking, okay, I might not make it. And I was like, this is great. As the Dragon's doing these big S turns, you can hear the Dracos firing, and you can see the plasma going past the Dragon eyes. I was like, this is the best.
That's
and it
cool.
never even entered my
you
mind.
took it like a universal ride.
Yeah, it was amazing because, but we also had jobs to do. Like, there's times when you can sit back and be like, this is amazing. But as the mission pilot, helping my commander, I'm also on task for thinking, okay, the drogues got to fire. If not, we manually fire them. And so I'm counting down, watching the altitude drop, and then also for the mains, because if you mess up that, then it doesn't matter. You're not going to survive because you're going to hit hit the water. But everything worked just the way it was supposed to. And SpaceX gave us a lot of confidence. They getting to meet them, getting to meet the engineers, seeing the facility, going there for the training, and you just you leave to go launch into space with such confidence in the team and the crew. That everybody's doing their best to make sure that you're going to have a successful mission. And same with Axiom.
Yeah. Alex, how about you? Did you strap in that
I would.
Crew Dragon?
I would be happily going.
She's
yes.
making me confident to go. I mean, once you cross that threshold, you just got to resign yourself that bigger people than me know what the hell they're doing, and I'm just got to do what I'm told to do, or trained to do. Like
Exactly.
You said there.
And you've got good people trying to do, make sure that the safety is there, and so you go and you perform as a team, and hopefully it's a successful mission.
Well, we're going to see those mains come out here in a minute. We're going to say hi to Doug Forrest. He's an artist in Los Angeles, just outside of Pasadena there. I know he's interested to look up your art. Carlton Bailey, how about this, CB, huh? We got a real celebrity here, Alex Karl. I mean,
Exactly.
and Dave Stengy is one of our A-listers up in Michigan. Steve Jokums, he's got the Lake County Spaceport in Illinois. Bet you didn't know there was a spaceport in Illinois there.
I did not.
He's got a business there that does a fabulous job with models and decals on there, Steve. Robert Law's up in Dundee, Scotland. Hope you're enjoying a little hot toddy tonight, my friend.
Saxon Boyd Spaceport, first vertical launch facility in Europe. Wow, that's come online.
Yes.
They just got licensed.
Did they?
Yep.
All right, Robert, we want to hear more about that. Gary Gerald is our Vidalia onion farmer in Collins, Georgia. Good to see you, Gary. I was just thinking I hadn't seen your name pop up there in a while. Bill Whiting's up in Michigan, and a snowbird that we can't wait to come down here so we can put him to work in our museum. Cliff Watson, how's your brekkie this morning there in Pomona, Australia, where they're enjoying summer down there in Australia? Tom Usiak is freezing to death in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He photographed over 60 shuttle launches.
Wow.
Friend of ours. And Larry Pushkar. Larry, good to see your name pop up there. You're probably a Detroit Lions fan too, and happy that they won. So he's up in Michigan. And good to see Marty's handwriting on here. We've missed my friend for a couple weeks here. Let's get through the program here that I got for you that just works out perfect with Dr. Proctor. Here we've got those beautiful mains coming out there. 4 main parachutes. They're I mean, they're going to make sure you get down there softly. Huh?
They are.
In
It's
there.
a beautiful sight when you've got 4 healthy mains on your console.
So you watched this as it came down. You were actually inside one of these capsules, and then the splashdown.
Yeah.
Did you feel it? What was that like?
Yeah, once you're under 4 healthy mains, you're kind of like, woo, and you're really kind of enjoying the ride, but then you're counting down. My commander's watching, again, our altitude, and then he'll tell us to brace for impact, and you kind of get in position, and then you splash down, but you notice it because you kind of like hit the water, but it's not bad. But when you bob up, you're just so happy because that's your gold medal moment, right?
Uh-huh.
Because like you get selected, and that's like getting selected for the Olympics, and everybody's like, congratulations, and you're like, no, I still have to compete. and the competition part is really going and having a successful mission. And your
Right.
mission is truly ended and success when you splash down. And so you hit the water, and us in the capsule are like, yeah, there, and you hear SpaceX, and they're like, everybody's like, woo, because you did it. You did it. You successfully completed the mission.
Was yours a daytime landing?
It was it was evening. It was
Okay.
we splashed down in the evening, so
Okay.
it was
Were
nighttime
you in
by
the
the time.
Pacific? I mean,
We
the
were in
Gulf
the-
or
we were in the Atlantic.
Yeah,
And
you
so
were the
by the
first
time they
ones
get-
to land the Atlantic Ocean.
We were.
Since,
Yes.
Well,
The
Marty, you
shuttle-
got a question there.
We have a question from Dave Stange. What was the most exciting part of your mission?
Okay. Dr. Proctor?
I think that's me, huh?
I'm still waiting
Yes.
for my mission.
His was going to Moon
Yeah.
Hut with me yesterday, Dave.
Okay, the most exciting part, and you can see this video on my YouTube, was when we opened the forward hatch to the cupola and got to see the Earth for the first time. Now, I knew this was going to be a fun moment because, you're going to look out onto the Earth. And so I queued up some special music from my colleagues on my iPad, and they didn't know that I was going to
Oh.
play this. And it timed perfectly that as Chris is pulling back the forward hatch, and we're floating around, and Haley is like has this task, and she's pulling out this ribbon. Then we have this moment where my commander just says, basically, holy shit.
Yeah.
And Haley looks up, and I'm filming them, and her face just lights up as she sees the Earth from that perspective for the first time. And then I kind of float over, and you can see what we're seeing. And our whole capsule just gets flooded with Earth light. And that's the light that's reflected from our planet, Earth light. And it's just stunningly
What was the
beautiful.
music?
It was, can you guess?
Well, either Space Odyssey
Yeah,
or
2001,
Holtz.
from 2001.
Okay.
And so, because that dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun,
Awesome.
building the suspense.
Uh-huh.
And it's just such a special
So how was
moment.
Jared Isaacman as your commander?
Jared's amazing. He
Amazing.
is so smart, and he's technically savvy. He is funny though. And so this is the thing that Jared does. He'll be like, we were getting ready for reentry, and of course reentry is a dynamic part of flying, and you don't know what's going to happen. And he goes, okay, now that we are heading back home, I'm going to surprise you by telling you about our splashdown party. And so he starts saying how when we get back home, he has set it up for us to have this party, and it's Star Wars themed. And then he has the Star Wars cantina. And what was funny about
in
right?
Orlando, yeah, I
yes.
saw pictures of that
Yes.
with you guys in
So
there.
he was keeping the splashdown party a surprise until the end. Oh, but there's other funny moments. Me and Haley were up in the cupola, and then suddenly a xenomorph, the alien from Aliens, comes floating up, and we're like, "What is this?" Jared. He brought a fake xenomorph alien and released it in the capsule, and so he's just a fun guy who is super smart and technically savvy, but he's thoughtful. And it takes a thoughtful person to give away seats to space to strangers.
Absolutely.
And then as a result,
Well,
we became a space
and to
family.
trust you to go to space
Yes,
with you,
yes.
that
And be
is-
able to execute and do all of these things.
We shared those pictures because Tim Gagnon, our
Yeah.
space artist, is a friend of ours, and Tim was there, and we shared. He shared those pictures, and we talked about those when they happened there. Well, let's. Here's the ship that we showed here, another angle of it there, one of the fleet of SpaceX there. What was that like to go out there and know that you're going to retrieve a spaceship out of the water?
It was great. They fly you over there by helicopter.
Okay.
Actually, 2 helicopters. So it's
Enough room for 2 there. Huh?
No, they go one by
Oh.
one, but we need all the people there. It's all the medical support teams to check out the crew after they're back and make sure they're okay. And then other support folks, there are some photographers, there are crew representatives like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first helicopter flies in, and that's for the medical team so they can prepare and set up. And I was in the second helicopter, and
Were you the only ESA? Did you have an ESA doctor there?
yes,
for,
yes. We were 3
Samantha?
ESA persons. One was her flight surgeon, one was myself as the crew representative, and an ESA photographer.
Uh-huh. Well, we're going to look at the, there you are, up there, 4 for crew 4.
Crew
up
4,
there.
and you see the capsule in the background, just dipping in the water.
So Sian, the last landing I watched live, okay? It was at night, and it was like agonizing. I go, jerk that thing in there, get it on the
It
boat.
took a
I mean,
while.
it seemed like, wow, I thought, I'm staying up here. It's 2 a.m. I want to go to bed. But I mean, that's the way it
Yeah.
felt, the peons watching it out there. But did it seem like a long time you were in the water? Or
It of course it does, because you're excited and you're ready to get out of the capsule. Because we lived in the capsule for 3 days,
Right. Yeah.
And so, but you're just kind of like happy to you're chatting with the crewmates, and you're just waiting for them to hook up for the spaceship and bring it on board. But I will say that they're there right away. Like when you splash down, they're there pretty much.
the boats.
Yep, or they're checking out the hypergulls and making sure that there's nothing dangerous coming off of the spaceship, and then doing everything safety wise to make sure that not only are we safe, but the crew that is working to extract us are also safe. But I love the crew 4 because we got along with NASA crew 4. We were inspiration 4, and then crew 4. So we overlapped each other a lot in training at SpaceX, and so
gotcha.
they became kind of like our sister crew. But so it's kind of a nice kind of similarity
Didn't you
between
also
that.
have like a call between
We
you?
did. We just kind of like, worked together. And that's the boundaries between being, commercial astronauts and, NASA astronauts, or what I would say is government funded astronauts. We all are working toward the advancement of human spaceflight, and being able to get along and to help each other and to cheer each other on in this space it's really exciting. So
That's that little
So
bit
we went
of
to dinner with
fraternity
crew
stuff
4,
going on there. I
and
like
yeah.
hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's the capsule coming up on there. We all call it kind of like a marshmallow looking thing. There, you were sitting there. Did it have any odors?
I didn't. Well, the picture I think was taken by the ESA photographer,
Right.
I guess. But one thing I want to mention, like waiting in the water, and then you can keep the picture. But it's once the capsule comes in, I was really impressed by the SpaceX crews. They knew exactly what they were doing, and you could see they were not doing that for the first time.
Yeah.
It was like everything was coordinated, every person knew what to do. And it really impressed me first how close to the ship the capsule came back. I thought it would be further than it was. I was
Oh.
like, oh, this is great parking,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Really?
Great
Splashed
prediction
down
where it
pretty
comes
close?
over.
Yeah.
I mean, not too
Which was
close.
what, 2 miles away?
No, it was like
Oh, really?
500 meters. What's
Oh,
that in
wow.
miles? I don't know.
couple soccer pitches.
Yeah, it was just over there, right? It's,
Yeah.
And then the speedboats went, and then the boat were, and within 10 minutes, you're really close. That's where my 4 picture was. Almost
Uh-huh.
maybe 10, 15 minutes after they splashed down. So it's really quick. It's really efficient. They know what they're doing. It was a joy to watch.
I watched the last one, and I noticed that the professionalism of it. There was one guy climbing on top of it and looking inside, and then getting the all the straps from the parachutes was a big deal to get that up right away and so forth like that. No, you could, like you said, they've done this before. Marty, you had a question over there?
Yeah, we have a question from Dave Stange.
Pardon me?
A question from Dave Stange.
Uh-huh.
And Alec, how long will you be in town? And did Mark pay for your meal yesterday?
We'll go on to the next slide here right away. There's beautiful Samantha getting out of the thing. You're in town till Thursday, right?
Till Saturday.
Oh, Saturday.
Yeah.
Good. We'll maybe see you again there. And of course, I bought his meal there, Dave Stange. Just like I'll buy your meal when we go to the Moon Hut. Okay. And take it out of the petty cash here, of course, But, there she is getting her sea legs. She was up 5 months.
Yeah, 5-6
Okay.
months from April to October. No, it's like pretty much 6 months she was up there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know how it was for you coming back, getting used to gravity again, even though 3 days and 6 months.
3 days made it a lot easier. So it was one of those things where our flight doc comes in. Anil, who is now a NASA astronaut, he got picked up in the last selection, but he was a SpaceX flight medical doctor at the time. And I knew, I was like, Anil's like, do you need help? And I'm like, I got this, Anil, because you come home after this amazing experience, you're going to have to dance coming off of that spaceship. So I came out and I was like, I was like, way to go. And, but what was funny is that, I could see where the camera was because we were obviously live television. Everybody's watching and just past camera, the boat started rocking. I was like, whoa, wait a second. But it was great. Yeah. I didn't feel, I felt really good coming back. I was strong enough to stand and walk and exit egress on my own, basically. And then over the next 24 hours they check you out medically, making sure that everything's okay and that you're recovering just fine. And 2 days later I was on the dance floor at our splashdown party. So it was all good.
That looked like a good party too, for
It
sure.
was.
It looked like a disco.
It
going
was.
on there.
Mm-hmm.
What memorabilia, trinkets did you take to space?
Okay, so
That
this
you
is
can tell us about.
this is again on my YouTube channel. I have a whole documentary called "Unpacking Space," which is all about the things that I brought to space.
Okay.
So you know how NASA astronauts and probably ESA astronauts get like this much space. SpaceX said, "Here's a duffel bag. Try not to overstuff it."
Oh,
I
really?
stuffed that thing. I put comics from when I was 12 years old, like Star Wars comics and
Ah.
trading cards from Star Wars. I brought little stuffed animals like a little plush Nicole Nichols, who was a Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, one of my inspirations. I brought
Sweet.
patches, memorabilia, things for family and friends. I brought art to space of artists who I admired, and also student art from my community college. So I brought 30 pieces of student artwork and their poetry so they could see it floating in space.
My gosh.
And just all kinds of fun things.
Signature.
Oh, and my dad's Neil Armstrong signature.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, both my parents have passed away, and
Oh
so
my
they didn't
gosh.
get to see me achieve the childhood dream. But I brought my Neil Armstrong autograph along with my dad's coins. His Apollo 8 coin, and then he has an Apollo 11 commemorative coin that was melted down from the returning spacecraft, and
Right.
so things like that.
Sweet. Good. That'd be a hard decision maybe to think about what you'd want
Yeah,
to take.
what would you want to take?
And we've talked to some astronauts. I'm not going to say which one, that he had a lot of women in his family,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of nieces and wife's sisters and stuff. And he had so much jewelry to take with him that his commander said, tape it to your body. And they did. He taped some of it to his body.
I brought a lot of jewelry, I will
Yeah.
admit.
Yeah.
And if you see the videos, you can see like because I have short hair and Haley has really long hair.
Yes.
Having a pendant necklace for
So-
my 0G indicator. So a lot of times
So
you'll
that went to
see
space with
see
you
it
there.
floating,
Yeah.
and in the videos.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we've enjoyed Dr. Sian Proctor telling us about this experience she had, just like Samantha Ferretti there, the premier lady astronaut in Europe.
I'm glad that worked out, that at least we can use the pictures
Yeah.
for Diane as well.
This
I know
is
it.
great.
That's, sometimes it's
Yeah.
just kismet.
I mean,
Let's go out on this program talking about the Expedition 70. 22 years of continuous occupation. November 99 was the Crew Expedition 1. Up to 70 expeditions. That's crazy.
Yep.
And here's Morganson, the commander. Tell us a little bit about this gentleman.
There is. So that's Andy Mogensen. He is currently on his second trip to space. His first trip was also to the ISS, but that was a short duration mission. So I think it was around 15 days back in 2015.
He took a Soyuz up.
He took a Soyuz up,
Mm-hmm.
and now he got to go with the Dragon and staying for 6 months and became the commander.
And here's the whole crew up there. We've talked about him many times there. Jasmine Mogali, there's the Marine, Ura, seated there. She's the commander of the Dragon that's going to come home. When is that? She's in the Dragon.
She's in the Dragon. Laurel
Laurel
on the
is in
right.
the Soyuz.
Yeah, she
with
was
the Russian
in
crew
the Soyuz. Yeah,
in there. So is there a it's in March sometime when
it's
they're
early
coming back.
March
Okay.
when they come back.
So there'll be an overlap of a good 5-6 weeks for 2 ESA astronauts up there.
No, well, Marcus will only stay for 2 weeks. So the Axiom mission is also a short duration one. So
Oh, that's right.
They will have
That's right.
14
Yeah.
days.
What do I think? Yeah.
But for those 14 days, we have 2 Europeans up there, a
Right.
Dane and a Swede, which is actually a great segue for the mission patches that they chose.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I don't know if they're coming up later.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
are,
but
but I'll
we
show
can-
them
but
here.
I think-
I've got him working out there, and
Okay.
then I've got the Hugin and
So Hugin and Moonin,
Hugin and Moonin.
and
Show
those are names from the Norse mythology, and the god Odin. Every day he sends
Oh,
out
you know I got that figured
Oh,
out.
great.
They're the crows of Odin.
the ravens.
Oh,
yes.
ravens?
The
Okay.
ravens, and one is called Hugin, and the other is called Moonin.
Oh, I love
So and
that.
he releases them every day, and they go out in the world to collect knowledge to see what's happening in the world and bring it back to him. So he learns what is happening in the world, and this is what first Andy Mogensen came up with, and he was like, "Hey, I'm going out there to bring that knowledge for humanity." And then once Marcus was selected, he was like, "Well, this is an easy one, right? I'm the second Raven."
Actually, that's,
That's so
a sketch
great.
of Denmark in his
Correct.
wing there. I read on there.
Yeah, and here Moonin, this is the outline of Sweden.
All right.
So we
and then
got
what-
that in there as well.
There's the mythology, and there's Marcus
There's
there.
Marcus.
Kind of looks like a Formula One
Yeah,
motif
apparently
there
It
going on
does.
there.
Yeah.
I'm an F1 fan.
Yes,
That looks like
it does. Very much so.
Change the look
But
up
there's the
there.
moon in
Let's see,
there.
There's the moon, and that's the second Raven that gets sent out. And yeah, on the left, the blue parallel lines. That is the outline of Sweden.
I love the symbolism when we talk about our shuttle missions of the month, which 10 beautiful shuttles were launched in January with 54 people on board. I use one of the books over here to talk about the patches there. The fact that everybody knows I use that book a lot because there's so many. What Chris Calley, our famous world-renowned artist, says, little Easter eggs in there that you artists put in there
That's correct.
for your friends and family and stuff. So, well, that's cool. The artwork there, the ESA artwork is like NASA's, has been long-standing,
Well,
iconic.
although, Mark, to interrupt you here, the ESA logo changes from time to time. Every time we get a new member state, they add the flag.
Oh, okay.
So it's always you can see like, oh, how many flags do we have? Is it current or is it? Is it
How many
outdated?
are there now? Do you remember?
That's a trick
That's a
question.
trick question.
I believe it's 22. And
Okay.
my PR folks will tell me otherwise.
I threw in a couple pictures of the buildings that we've talked about. Is that the headquarters building or one of them?
No, well, this is the European Astronaut Center in Cologne. That's the building I work in.
Okay.
But the headquarters of ESA is located in Paris.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought so. Paris is the headquarters, but Cologne is your
That's
training center.
yes.
So that'd be more like Johnson Space Center to us, correct?
Yeah. Although
Or the
Johnson is a lot
astronauts'
bigger.
homes, and everyone lives around there.
Yeah.
and-
Yes.
so forth.
This is the home of the European astronauts.
Wanted to mention that the budget of ESA is around $8 billion. You got a 10% increase, which was huge in the quick reading I did on this. NASA's budget, of course, is about $24 billion, about 3 times as much, but we have the A for aeronautics in there, and that's what I wanted to ask you. The ESA budget for space really doesn't include the airline industry like NASA
No,
does.
it doesn't. But you need to keep in mind this budget is for 3 years.
Oh, really?
Yes. So when ESA get or
That is
the
quite meager.
the ESA member states get together, they have these meetings. They're called the council meeting, and they happen every 2 or 3 years. And this is where the member states then dedicate their support either for different projects or programs. And this is where this number comes from. So this is actually the budget for the next 3 years. Well,
So
NASA does this for a single year.
So it's $2 billion a year, a little over that.
Yeah.
Another facility that was going to be filler until we had Dr. Proctor show up here.
Yeah, this is a training hall in Cologne. So you can see on the right-hand side, there's our Columbus training module. That's where all astronauts. So we have the NASA astronauts come. We have the Russian cosmonauts coming. Of course, the Europeans, the Japanese. So all the ISS crew members, they go and train there on this high-fidelity model of the Columbus module. And of course, our European astronauts, they get a lot more trained on the experiments, on the systems. So they're the experts then.
Did the Axiom astronauts come and train?
Yes, actually, Axiom 1 did not. But
Okay.
From Axiom 2,
Mm-hmm.
they come for a week.
Okay.
And then they get a introduction and training
Yeah.
on some things. So yeah, Alpair and Walter, they were there.
Yeah.
With Peggy, yeah, so they do come.
I may have
Peggy
to come
Whitson
visit.
was very interested
So
to see your
I
facility.
Totally,
need to, I
yeah,
need to
I'm-
definitely come visit.
I'm happy
as
to
a
give you a
commercial
tour.
astronaut.
All right. I bet Peggy Whitson was very interested in your facility, being as experienced as she is, or no?
I can't tell. I'm sitting in my Eurocom room talking
Yeah.
to the people in space.
Yeah, that's right.
But the folks who do the training, they get to spend more time with the people on ground. I have more connection with the
Another
people
ESA
when they're in space.
building there.
This is the same one, just not from the aerial view, but from
Okay.
the parking
Striking
lot.
building there.
Which this is the Envy Hub. This is the facility next door. This is where so this actually belongs to the German Aerospace Center, and they do a lot of medical studies there. They have bed rest studies, for example, that happen there. They do have like special rooms where they can change the lighting so they can simulate a different cardiac rhythm and see how that affects the bodies. And this is also the location when our astronauts return from space. Then they have a quarter there where they stay for I think the first 3 weeks or so. They have a lot of tests going on after they come back. All the science, they test before they go during the space flight, and then when they come back to see what changed. And a lot of those tests happen there. So the PIs and the scientists, they come there. And the astronaut has a room there, and they can choose to stay there for a couple of days, or once they got the clear from the flight surgeon, they can also go home because, as you mentioned, they all live nearby, and that's what most of them do.
Well, we got another big launch here. The human launches, of course, fill our museum. Of course, we love it. It's like 5 p.m, so we'll have a big day on Wednesday there. They're there in their SpaceX suits. What'd you think of the SpaceX suit, Sian?
I love the SpaceX suits.
What's it feel like
With
on the outside of it?
Nice. It's just like
Soft?
yeah, and it fits like a
Like
glove.
Naugahyde soft, like fake
No,
leather
not
soft?
like that soft.
Oh,
that would
okay.
be really nice. But I love it because they take over 200 measurements, so it's made for you. Each spacesuit is made specifically. It's tailored in house by the SpaceX experts to you, and that's amazing.
Was that like a Star Wars thing where you just stand there with your clothes on, they shoot lasers?
Yeah,
all
basically,
over you?
yeah.
Really?
But no, it's more just measurements
Okay.
and stuff. But they come in and they measure every part of you, and then they design this beautiful spacesuit. And I'm happy to announce that my spacesuit is going to go to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum, and will be on display when the new wing opens up.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's
Hey,
sweet.
mine's going there. Haley's is going to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital to inspire all of those kids with cancer.
And you raised how much again for St. Jude's?
$240 million. The largest
$240 million.
fundraiser in their history to help end childhood cancer.
Of course, fabulous thing to do.
And if
course.
you go to Space Camp, you'll see Chris Dombrowski's suit already on display at
In,
Space Camp in
Huntsville?
Huntsville. And then Jared's will be on display somewhere here in the Kennedy Space Center area.
Okay.
Hmm
Well, we'll make room in our museum for him here. In there for sure. In there. Well, let's talk about this crew. There's a crew there lined up there. Always a bunch of photo ops. Me being a professional photographer most of my life, I enjoy this kind of lighting and so forth that they put the crews through there.
Well, I have a question. Why are you not allowed to smile?
Oh,
You
is that-
know, it's always this kind of stoic, kind of like, whereas like this going to space is joyful and happy, and I think that that's something that we need to bring more into.
I'm with you on that, Sian.
experience
You
that-
gotta act like you're tough.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
it's
bad.
back
I'm
to-
going to space.
yeah.
Like you have to be a Clint Eastwood type
Exactly.
of attitude going to space.
Versus
But
like I'm
instead
going
of
to
being
space, like hello,
that's
like
right.
let's give some props here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff my duffel bag full
Yes,
of treats to all
yes.
my friends and come back.
Right
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
That's an awesome attitude to have about it. Really.
Well, I think that that's a little bit of what the commercial space people are bringing. A little bit more like,
Well,
what is the word? A little pizzazz and joy.
well,
to the
absolutely.
experience.
That was the thrust 38 years ago when we lost Challenger. It was
Mhm.
going to be people like CBS newsman Dan Rather were
Yep.
considered to go. Pablo Casel's
correct.
celloist.
Yep.
They were asking people, of course, for space history and people that wanted to go to space. John Denver
Mhm.
would have done anything to go to space, and he actually thought he was going to be the first space tourist.
Yeah.
Y'all know John Denver,
Of
the singer.
course. Of course. He was an amazing aviator.
Kind of young.
Unfortunately.
That's why I'm asking. No.
I heard the name. I
Yeah,
heard some of the songs.
The
but-
way he unfortunately died in a plane accident.
Yeah,
and-
ran out of
but,
fuel and
yeah,
experimentally.
experimental.
Kind of sad on there, but he definitely attended a lot of launches and wanted to be in there and so forth. But the whole idea was, and we've got this is a Japanese or China businessman that wants to.
Dear Moon.
He's
Japanese. Yep,
you
they're gonna
know
go
all
around the
about that.
moon. And yeah, so
his
he's got
Starship.
and
If
he's taking.
Starship gets going, he wants to pay for 20 people to go to the moon, like Everyday Astronaut. and a
Yeah,
couple other
Tim
people. Did
Dodd,
he
a
ask
good
you
friend
to
of mine.
go?
No, I already had inspiration for.
Okay.
So I didn't even apply for that, but Tim Dodd's a good friend of mine. I'm
Tim
excited
Dodd.
for him to go, the Everyday Astronaut.
Hope he gets
and then,
to go. Yeah.
well,
Summer.
Jared has the contract for the very first Starship orbital launch, so he'll be the first human to take it to orbital. And so I feel that I'm so proud of him to be trailblazing that way. In
And what do you
such an
think
amazing
about
way.
that? When do you
I think it's
that might happen?
fantastic. Oh, you know what? I've been to the last 2 Starship launches. Fantastic. If
Really?
you get a chance to watch, it is amazing. And I think the whole goal is like, if we're gonna create that Jedi space, that just, equitable, diverse, inclusive space for all of humanity, we all want Starship to be successful because it changes the game when it comes to the amount of tonnage that you can get into Earth's low Earth orbit and beyond. And if it can become as successful as the Falcon 9 rocket, wow, right?
Oh yeah,
Game
right.
Wow,
yes.
a game changer. And so I'm just excited for all of that to happen.
Well, they've got the money to just keep throwing at it to make it happen.
And that means
that's-
you get to go to space. You get to go to
Yeah.
space. We all get to go to space. I get to go to space again. So let's make this happen.
How important is it for the artists and the creative minds to go to space? You're one, and obviously we're excited with your enthusiasm.
Yeah, no, I think it's super important because I think the narrative of why we go gets lost sometimes, and we go to space in order to make Earth better. And yeah, as me and Mike say, solving for space is solving for Earth.
Yeah.
And particularly the advancement of human space flight. As we go to the moon and Mars, it's all about efficiency in food, water, energy, resource management, waste management. And those are things that we have really, challenges here with on Earth. And if we solve some of those challenges through the advancement of human spaceflight, all of that technology and all of that knowledge is developed here and spins off to be able to make us better. And so when I think about things like Starship being successful and being able to send artists and poets, that brings in the inspiration, the culture, and human side of space exploration, why we go. And we want to bring us, what makes humans special. And you can think about how art, poetry, music, all of the dance, all of these things move us
Right.
and connect us. And it's universal. And I think that's why we want to send artists and poets to space and creatives.
How about you?
I fully agree.
You fully agree? All right. I think it's a lot like when James Webb, the NASA administrator, brilliantly yet let artists like Chris Callie's dad, Paul Callie, go out there on the it was Mercury 9, Gordon Cooper. First time that just not photographers and videographers were out there. They weren't videographers, they had film back then, of course. But to let the sketch artists, the watercolor, the acrylic people go out there, open up a whole new concept of space and so forth, and beautiful imagery that is in parallel with the fabulous images like Ed White in space that we contrast with Paul Callie's Power to Go. It's like a 2-story mural at Huntsville, Alabama now.
But think of why people were, we were able to imagine going to space. Think about all of the science fiction and the creative art. Think about how people are making, mock-ups of what exoplanets could look like, and how Star Wars and Star Trek inspire us to go out and make things like, the camcorder, and that's now the cell phone, and all of these kind of new technologies. If you ask the people at, from NASA and from SpaceX and these other space agencies, most of them love sci-fi, and they love looking at the future as imagined through creative people. And so, Star Wars or Star Trek? Trek, yes. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Or Star Trek.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
To boldly go.
More the fantasy side's good too, but
yeah.
The best Star Wars scenes in the space bar, of course, there. and the first one that when I was a kid.
It's the visuals, right?
Right.
Artists are creating these visuals in these worlds, and they help us imagine the possibility of the future.
Absolutely. And you don't always have a camera with you or a cell camera, whatever. And we have Nick Thomas, the astronaut wrangler out of Space Center, kind of convinced me a little bit ago, Marty, to put my camera down and just enjoy looking at that launch and remember some of the things about it. So what a fabulous show we've had today with our surprise guest, Dr. Sian Proctor. We didn't have her name to put down there. And Alex Karl, our now famous ESA representative there. You're famous through our Stray Curious series, one of our regulars here, my friend.
Happy to hear that.
Happy
to come back.
We're happy to have you here. We hope that this launch gets off okay. There could be some weather issues here. There's the crew up there. There's Mogensen, the commander in the lower left there, talking to doing their usual debrief up there. 3 Russians up there, and they're all together. They're just all Earthlings, right? Nicole Stott, just 7 Earthlings up there. We actually have 3 Chinese Earthlings up there. It'll be about time for them to come home on there. So we'll get 3. We'll have 10. We'll have 14 up there for a while.
Last year there was 20 humans in space for all-time record. Sometime last year that there was a moment when
yes,
there
was
humans.
when Whitson's crew came back. Was up. Yeah, there was up there, and it's getting more populated. More people are calling it home, so to speak, and we just hope things go well. What is the backup do you know it's always an instantaneous launch?
Yes.
Wednesday at 5:11, I believe
Wednesday
it is.
5:11, and then the next one is on Thursday, and then Friday is not, and then again Saturday, Sunday, I guess.
Okay. So they do have 4 out of 5 days the next 5 days they could launch if weather's an issue.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, here's the destination. All right, the fabulous International Space Station, arguably mankind's greatest achievement in many ways, without a doubt. So, can't thank you enough, my friend, for
Mark?
wanting to be part of us here again and being our friend. Dr. Proctor,
Nice
Dr.
to
Sian
see you,
Proctor,
Mark.
what a pleasure, and thank you for being so impromptu and taking a risk of getting in front of the camera with me, right, Marty?
Yes.
Okay. He's back to normal, folks. I just wanted to make sure Marty was back to normal. Thank you, Marty, for an excellent Streamlabs job there. And thank you all for who watched today's show. And tomorrow we have got a program with Gary Allgaier. Gary Allgaier is a structural engineer from the Apollo and shuttle era. If it doesn't have electrons or water or fluid flowing through it, it's his responsibility, he said. And he's going to talk about Apollo 6, the Saturn V mission, uncrewed, that had a lot of anomalies to it, that Saturn did, including the S4B didn't even ignite to go to the moon, and yet the next Saturn V they launched did go to the moon with Apollo 8. So Gary Allgaier is going to talk all about that fascinating story of this Wernher von Braun's Saturn V rocket, one that had quite a few things, pogo and some other things going on, and yet they had confidence to go to the moon on the next one, incredibly. So, and then later in the week, what else have I got going on? I forget because I'm so excited to have Dr. Proctor here. So we'll figure out some shows the rest of the week, including those space shuttles that were launched in the month of January, as we love sharing those missions with you here on Stay Curious. So until next time, I'm Mark Marquette, thanking my guests here and saying we can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us. Thank you all so much.